President Trump has named ex-ICE head Tom Homan as the U.S. border czar. I've got quite a few comments here from Mr. Homan as he talked about this. And he talks about, he knows how to do the job. People are excited he's coming back. As a matter of fact, the Border Patrol Union has spoken out and said they have had a complete 180 in morale at the agency, knowing that now they're going to be able to get the bad guys, that the policies of the Biden administration were the opposite of those of the Trump administration. So that is what they're saying. So Mr. Homan was asked about mass deportations. What will they look like?
As the president said on stage many times, which I agree with 100%, it's going to be the same it was during the first administration, which is just a hell of a lot more of them because 10 million people have entered this country illegally under the Biden administration, or they actually let into this country, even though it's violation of federal law, what they've been doing, the abuse of the parole authority.
He talks about protecting public safety.
Public safety threats and national security threats will be the priority because they have to be. They pose the most danger to this country. So we're going to prioritize those groups, those who always have final orders, those that had due process at great taxpayer expense, and the federal judge says you must go home, and they didn't. They became a fugitive.
I want to talk about this. He talks about work site. What happens when they go to work sites?
And as part of work site operations have to happen. Here's why, Steve. Where do we find most victims of sex trafficking and forced labor trafficking? At work sites. And the Biden administration shut down work sites. On one point, they say we care about sex trafficking and human trafficking. Then they shut down work site enforcement, which is one of the main areas we find the victims of this.
So he said they're going. I know I'm playing these in fast order, and some of them are out of order the way he said them. But I want you to hear some of the details of what they're going to focus on. He talks about going after criminals.
And most the illegal immigrant community, they broke the law being there. They shouldn't be. However, after being there, they're God-fearing family people. I get it. Do they want a sexual predator in their neighborhood? Do they want someone convicted of DUI 10 times in their neighborhood? Let us protect not only the American communities, let us protect the immigrant community. Who's the victim of MS-13 crime? Yeah. The immigrant community. Yeah. So, if sanctuary cities don't want to help us, to get the hell out of the way, because we're coming.
So that, I think, is a big piece of this. For the people that despise Trump's plans, he gained a lot of ground. He won the Hispanic vote. He gained with his young Hispanic men especially. These are the people that you're hearing about being targeted for deportation. But legal immigrants to this country are part of the biggest demographic that helped get him elected with the change in how they voted. So maybe, just maybe, what Mr. Homan is saying is the sentiment within the immigrant community. When people live in neighborhoods, I will just give you an example of crime, and this has nothing to do with race. It's crime. My first experience in doing a ride-along with the Phoenix Police Department was years and years ago. A friend of mine who is now a lieutenant was a sergeant at the time, and he was a vice sergeant with the vice squad. And they were doing prostitution busts where there were street-walking prostitutes, and they had undercover cops posing as Johns. And it was in the Sunny Slope neighborhood, a working-class neighborhood, a beautiful area, but a working-class neighborhood. And so they began to pick up these women, and the women were jumping in the cars and making deals for prostitution and getting arrested. And so they were arresting prostitutes. And within an hour or so, word had gotten out around town that the police were in the neighborhood arresting prostitutes. And about 2 hours after the operation started, we drove through the Sunny Slope neighborhood again. And we drove through Sunny Slope. It was a completely different neighborhood from when we went in. It was families outside sitting on lawn chairs, kids out in the street playing ball, playing basketball in the driveway, kicking the balls or soccer balls around. It was a different neighborhood. It's the people that work in these neighborhoods. It's the good people that work in these neighborhoods that are held hostage by the criminal element, by the gangs and the prostitutes and the pimps. And so he's right when he talks about this. And he also talked about what I think here is one of the most important elements that's been overlooked in this whole thing on how horrible the border policies have been, and that's finding missing children.
This administration has lost over 300,000 children that were smuggled in this country by criminal cartels they can't find. That's another priority. We need to save these children because some of these children are in forced labor, some of these children are in sex trafficking, some of these children are living a life of hell every day, and we need to save these children and get them back with their families.
So if you've got about, let's say that number's accurate, let's say it's about 300,000 kids. Many of them are unaccompanied minors that came across the border that were given to sponsor families that the administration admits they can't find the sponsor family. They don't have any idea what conditions these children are living under. We have a foster child program here in the Valley that's overworked. It is overburdened. We don't have enough foster families for the children in the foster program, and it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. But imagine if we had a foster program and our foster program didn't even know where the children were. How many children would be an acceptable number? To find out that our foster program, they don't know where these children are. Would one be an acceptable number, or would that be unacceptable? Hundreds of thousands of children have come into this country and have gone, many of them have either been smuggled in, but that's one element. But the ones that came through and are statistically unaccompanied minors that have been given to sponsor families, we can't find them. It has been an unacceptable policy of this administration, and it's got to be reversed. So are we going to, and this is a great question for everyone, are we going to watch how this works? Or are we going to see the assumption, because if you listen to the opponents of all of this, the opponents are blasting the same rhetoric they were blasting before. Broken families and separated families. And I've told you the story about my friend who just got his visa for his fiance solution, got the resolution they wanted. She will be here with their American daughter very soon. The process he had to go through for about 2 years and tens of thousands of dollars spent with no movement on her case. That's a separated family. That's a hardworking American man that has a fiance that's Mexican, and they have a child together, and the child has a birth certificate and a social security number to be in the U.S., but she's growing up with her mother in Mexico, and we can't bring that family together because of the policies that are in this administration that's existing right now. That's a separated family. What about that family? There's a lot to fix. Now, I don't know how much of it's going to be fixed, and I'll hold people accountable as well if they don't fix it. But you got to give them a chance to do something different. It's one of the other reasons why they were elected.
Thanks for watching the Mike Broomhead Show. Tap to watch the first season of Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR news podcast. You can also click the button in the middle to subscribe.